everybody. Yes, somebody did come prepared. So this is Apple Treats, final episode of the season. Hopefully not for the show. we still think to have some episodes next year, but yeah, we decided to have one episode in season 3, and we were actually planning to have more than this one. Yeah, we wanted to have something interesting to happen, but we definitely need to go through the year, see what was happening during this year in Apple development ecosystem and
Vision Pro.
Yeah, and it didn't happen yet. I mean, it did, but we will cover that. Probably we might need to start with Vision Pro in advance. But yeah, so episode 6, season 3. And we hoped to have at least 10 episodes this year, but it didn't happen. Maybe that will happen next year. But so
the good thing that it's not the first episode.
Yes, probably that's good. And by the way, we already have a couple of topics for the next year, and hopefully we will come back somewhere in January, and that will be interesting for those who want to grow as a developers, but we won't be talking much about that, so let's keep that as a mystery. So we will be talking about 2023, and we'll see what was happening in terms of the development. And let's start probably, yes, with an elephant in the room, the Apple Vision Pro, which was announced at WWDC, and everybody was expecting that, and it's finally here. Or no, it's not. We actually have a device. Some people have the developer kits. Some people tried the device in developer labs, but all the current rumors say that we might have this device on sale by the end of January, probably, maybe beginning of February. That's the current rumors. And let's just quickly talk about the Apple Vision Pro from the developer perspective. So,
is your credit card ready for that?
I have limits which will allow me to buy that. But that will be, we'll see. So
we are not talking about corporate credit. Stop.
Yes, we are not. But we actually have projects for Vision Pro, so that's actually kind of fun. And interestingly, for the developers, it's not that different from what you were used to have on the iOS, and you still have Swift UI. You have UIKit, by the way. It's not some new framework. It's almost the same UIKit. You have more frosted glass rather than you had in iOS, but it's almost the same. You have Reality Kit, which you might use on iPhone or iPad. You have a AR Kit, which is not the same AR kit as you were using on the iPhone and iPad, and that's actually interesting. It's the same, it's called the same, but it's totally different, and that's mostly due to the fact that you cannot have access to the cameras on the Vision Pro. So the only camera, and that's, by the way, virtual camera, which you can have access on the Vision Pro, is camera which shows your face, which is actually reconstructed from your onboarding and cameras looking into your mouth and your eyes. So as of now, it seems that this image is a little bit weird. It's low resolution or something, but that's the only camera you have on Vision Pro. And we still hope to get the device as soon as possible and try to use that device. So we have a couple of teammates who tried the device in Apple Developer Vision Pro Labs, and they said it's actually quite cool in terms of the resolution and cool in terms of the everything, and it's heavy. So
that what bothers me. So for me, I do not see any reason to use it as an entertainment device. It can be,
Yeah.
but my entertainment device is Xbox and Apple TV. So, and Apple TV I can use with my wife and kids, which is good.
Yeah. And you like, in order to watch the same movie together, you have to have two devices and you need to do something.
Share play.
Yeah. And
This is, in this case, so the only thing, like the only reason why I may need this is work. But spending, I don't know, even 2 hours in this massive headset can be complicated.
tricky. Let's put it this way. It would be tricky. By the way, everybody who joined us on the stream, you can ask your questions or share your findings, like for 2023. What did you like? What did you find noticeable? We might discuss that on the stream. And let's move on. Yeah, so we do not have the device yet. And by the way, the developer kits which were provided to some of the developers, they might be a little bit different from the actual device which will be shipping soon, but hopefully not that much. And there are a lot of rumors of the something like Vision Non-Pro and Vision Pro 2, which will have even better displays. By the way, the displays is probably the thing which is praised the most. So everybody who's like talking about the Vision Pro, they are saying that the display technology in Vision Pro is just like above and beyond. Like everybody praises that particular thing, but we will see. My main concern there is like for the applications we develop, we need to be sure that the text on that virtual windows flying around you will be readable.
So that means the dynamic type, please support it now, not only for Apple Vision Pro users, but for the rest of people who want to make text bigger in their applications.
Yeah. So and like crispiness or like overall everything of I don't know, like how would I say? So we need to see how it will actually work with actual apps and when you will need to read a lot of text. So that's something, and we are currently working on that, but we need to make sure that the users will actually like it. So that's one of the things I would like to see how it will actually work.
But by the way, so will they support iPhone apps on
Yes,
Apple Vision or on the iPad?
Some of those. We expect that it will support most of the applications, except like again for the cameras and for the AR kit and something like that. So there are a couple of things which will not be working, but most of the apps will be readily available, and they will look a little bit like non-native. So they will not have this frosted glass background. They will not have anything related to this like overall look and feel, but iPad apps and iPhone apps will work on the device. So
just phones and iPads will fly around you. So
yeah.
you have to take it and use.
I think yeah, something like that. But I think that the idea there is like you will be able to use that app, but if you're an app developer, you will definitely see that your app like stands out, and you probably want to have your native Vision OS app. And
only if you want to make your users, I don't know, suffer from that.
True.
It's okay that people use Flutter applications and they're okay with that. Maybe they will be okay with that.
So Apple had a couple of sessions during this year, and they were talking about like how to make your app like better for the Vision Pro. So they had in-person developer events at Apple Developer Center near the Apple Park, and what they were talking about is like, don't use hard-coded callers, like don't use this, don't use that, adopt these techniques, and then your like iPhone app will be just as good as native app, and like it will be easy transition to the new platform. So well, it's actually not that hard to transition the app. So they do not have much of the differences in terms of the Swift UI and UI kit, but there are a couple of things which overall experience in Vision Pro like probably will need to be like updated, I would say. So there will be, we need to understand how to build an apps for Vision Pro in terms of spacing the windows. For example, one of the things which you might want, you want to place your application windows like in the specific places, and that's currently not possible with Swift UI on Vision OS, and maybe you will be able to do that. And there are a couple of hacks which you can use in order to essentially trigger that, but we will see how they will actually work on the physical device.
Unexpected. Swift UI doesn't cover everything.
Well,
what a wonderful framework.
I mean...
Okay.
Okay. So we have.
But you can do some swizzling.
We have the question here, so let's quickly talk about that. So Vadim asks, what apps will be, what apps will benefit from supporting Vision OS? By the way, like not getting into details, we see the interest in that. Yeah, Vladimir, let's start with you.
Gyro. That's it.
Yeah, well.
I remember because they were one of the first who ported their iPad app into macOS.
Yeah, but so my idea is that all the entertainment part will probably have, well, I mean, if you're building streaming application, then that's probably you would definitely want to have your app be available on Vision Pro, specifically for those who have money to buy that device. These probably will be able to buy some movies from your streaming service. So,
or you can just force them to pay for some subscription for Apple Vision Pro users.
Yeah.
Since they have money for this expensive device, why not?
Special video, yes, exactly. And by the way, I think that might have something there. So, and apart from that, I mean, it's kind of hard to say what will be the actual use for that. I'm still thinking that this device is mostly for the business, and therefore maybe not Gyro, but something with business purposes might be working okay. I kind of expect that, for example, Final Cut Pro might be good on the Vision Pro, because you can place your windows and like you can work with a lot of content at the same time. I don't know, Logic Pro, if you're into music, maybe that will also be good for the for this platform. But we still need to see, like, I mean, making predictions here is something I definitely don't want to do, because first, like, we can remember Apple Watch, yeah. So initially it was like there was one of the buttons. It was called, I think, contact button or something like, or friends button, because it was. The only purpose of that button was to show your favorite friends and like try to contact them. Well, that was like long. That's already not the case, and therefore, like, there were a couple of changes in the Apple Watch in terms of like how they are positioning it now. So I think something similar might happen with the Vision Pro. So it will start with the idea that it's more or less entertainment and business purposes, but then the users and the developers will actually decide what's the main purpose of that device. So I'm not exactly sure that they will be only business apps or there will be only entertainment apps. What we are working on right now is probably again on the border of those. Like it's an entertainment and it's a business entertainment, which is probably the worst thing of all of them. But we hope that something which we build will be actually cool. I mean, the progress we have so far is actually cool. And yeah, we can talk about that on this podcast for obvious reasons. But I think we might have a separate episode on the Vision Pro as soon as it will get released, or we will have some more information on that, because that's not the only thing happened in 2023. So there are a couple more things, small and big, but let's maybe start. Before
we go there, I want to ask you. So, like, do you feel that Swift as a language, as an ecosystem, goes into the right direction?
Okay,
because events
know
of
what you're coming from.
not only typed throws.
Yeah.
This is horrible idea.
That's one of the things. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but in general, so changes that Apple introduced on WWDC and before it with very, very complex syntaxes of I really don't remember what this ugly syntax does. Really. But yeah, with many keywords and other stuff. So the language that should be just a tool, it becomes more like not a tool, but a Swiss Army knife. So you're trying to solve everything with the language itself.
Well,
maybe
it's interesting, yeah, because what happened during this year is that actually Swift is now, there is a working group which tries to bring Swift to embedded devices, like basically bare metal, and there are a couple of activities there, so it will not be the same Swift. There are a couple of things which will not work on that Swift on that level, but on the other hand, we have server-side working group which brings Swift to servers, to the backend, and so on. And yeah, the language actually now becomes very broad, and there are a couple of things happening. So we are now gearing towards Swift 6 with all this structured concurrency and sendable types and so on and so on and so on. On the other hand, we still have something happening, like most of the developers still use GCD, looking into this new concurrency as something, like we can do this particular thing with async await and that's it. I mean, like nobody even tries to adopt actors in the actual apps, which is sad, but it's the reality right now.
I think just it's similar to, like, I don't know, we discussed this a year ago, I believe. So the problem with Apple introducing actors, structured concurrency, they cannot show a good example, like good app to show like how this thing should be cooked. Similar to SwiftUI as well, but that's another topic.
SwiftUI is better now. I mean, let's be honest.
No. I'm not talking that SwiftUI is bad. I'm saying that Apple doesn't show us how they think SwiftUI apps should be developed.
The architectural patterns, yes.
Yeah. Not only the architectural patterns, but just So Apple, you can, I don't know, open source one of your apps which you've written in.
That one. That's probably might not be the good example. That's the problem.
Yes. So, but if they have this like a target, we want to, I know, good example, developer app, which is SwiftUI on macOS, iPadOS, iOS. I don't know about watchOS, but never mind. So it's a developer app. For me, it would be really interesting to see what they use, because I see that this is a SwiftUI app. It's not a native. Okay, it's a native app, but it's a little bit clunky. I see it. But so, and then, so because I remember when they released Swift Package Manager, it was ugly, it was unusable, but then with help of community, they did a lot of great stuff with it. And now it's wonderful.
Right. We'll see. Again, they are updating the documentation. They are doing something, but it's maybe not yet there. Let's just talk about one, since we're talking about these changes in Swift, macros. Yeah. And by the way, the more I look into that, the more it seems that it's a proper way of doing macros. And like, just hear me out. There are a couple of things here. It's the proper way that we do not have something like which generates like some code like the macros in C or C++, but so you have typed language when macros are written in Swift itself. The problem is that it's so complicated to write those macros sometimes. When you do that, you need to go through the syntax tree. And for example, there are a couple of things where you can have a property defined like var a equals 5, and the syntax tree does not contain the information of the type of the property. So if you rely on the types in your macros, you are out of luck. You do not have that information. You have to deal with this type which is derived from the value. And on the other hand, like you might have macros which like you need that type in order, for example, if you want to make a backing storage for that. So your macro will not work with the classes which have this kind of approach. And so there are a lot of things you will need to take care when you write that macro. You have to do a lot of stuff manually, or you will have just to rely on macros which are created by somebody else. And by the way, some of those macros are also like do not support these things. So it's a good thing to have that macros, but I think it won't be that everybody will start writing those. It may be there will be some first-party and third-party macros which are trusted by the community. Like we will now talk about one of the things on the SwiftUI and the community and some kind of trust.
Yeah, the same call to Apple: make SwiftUI open source, and
well,
that will benefit. So any restrictive license, I don't want to use SwiftUI as a separate library in all the apps, try to port it somewhere. No, I just want to have some influence on it as a developer, as a user of this framework.
Okay, from the developer and the community. So 0.3 pointers released composable architecture 1.0. I mean, it's now beyond that, but it's like, and they are actually adopting the macros and adopting the observation framework and so on, which is probably like to-go architecture for SwiftUI. It's a little bit like complicated for simple apps, maybe. Like I would agree. I might personally prefer MVVM and something like simple patterns when you're not dealing with the huge apps. But the idea behind that architecture is actually quite good. I mean, they did a lot of work in making the like Redux-like architecture feel more or less native with Swift. And I personally hated the idea like with view store or like this and their case paths and so on. So it's like I did not like them. Let's put that straight. But that was okay considering what they were trying to achieve with that. And now, like with the 1.0, I think they're getting rid of the with view store approach, and there will be a lot of things happening with the macros, and that will be more like smooth use of this architecture with the SwiftUI. So even if it's not from Apple, I think that worth adopting. And yes, most of the content which they create to teach you how to use composable architecture is under paywall, but there are a couple of free episodes which they produced, and also maybe that's like worth spending money on. I mean, if you are into building sophisticated iOS or like general Apple ecosystem apps, composable architecture is maybe like good choice for you. Like just take a look on the free episodes, consider if that's okay for you, and maybe subscribe to get more information for like more complicated topics like persistence, like navigation and so on.
Won't this be a new Viper?
Well, Viper was more free, I would say. But and I mean, I don't think most people will adopt composable architecture. I think it's still something for the bigger projects and the more complicated. And not just that, but also like with the team who is ready to think a little bit forward. Like they're not going to like, let's just build and leave, right? It's.
But the bad thing, I worked on a project that was have been developed for 7 years. The basic ideas that were included in the beginning they are not alive anymore. They are dead and they are very outdated. And that's why I really like. I'm not saying that we should not have any architecture in the app, but my approach here is to go step by step. So if you have now you have a small application, but you wait, it will be very big. Maybe we should start with something very easy, something that you can easily expand, but do not invest a lot of time on writing some simple screens. And then, okay, you can think about rewriting. It's similar to, I don't know, instead of using Docker Compose for your web services, using Kubernetes just because it's too trendy and everyone have their Kubernetes cluster. And the same about, I don't know, Mongo. Maybe it doesn't worth your time.
Okay. Speaking of announcements, so this year was also like not very rich for the hardware in terms of like actual hardware released. We now have new HomePods, which look almost the same as the original HomePod, but it has less.
Does it have an old one or new one?
I have an old one right there, yeah, and it has more speakers. But they say that the new one with less speakers is like still has great sound quality, and I would say like this.
AI.
Yeah, they have. I think they mixed a little bit, like from the original HomePod, it's like the form factor, and from the HomePod Mini, they added the humidity sensor to the new HomePod and like temperature sensor, and like I think the computational part of the new HomePod is a little bit better, so it like probably works maybe on the same level in terms of sound quality. But we'll see. It's nothing much than that. So it's like if you have the original HomePod and you think like of replacing it with a new one, like don't. It's
what to do if I don't have any?
That depends on you. I mean, I actually enjoy, and like the whole family like likes to ask one particular assistant to turn on some music from time to time. I won't be naming it because that thing might respond and like
hey Siri, you're on headphones.
That won't work. Yeah. So, but apart from that, it's actually quite good. And if you have some other things like HomeKit enabled accessories, you start to use that from time to time, like asking to turn on the lights or turn your like I don't know. I have like heater fan and I can turn it on and off using just voice. So there are a couple of things you can do there, and I would say they are quite nice in that case. And yeah, there is also a thing like intercom. You can ask this thing to like talk to other room, like again sitting on, and you can do that from your phone as well. But it's still that won't we don't use that much, but it's still interesting. I mean, maybe that will stick for some time.
Yep, sounds good.
Another thing, M3 chips. So that was released actually. We do not have the M3 Ultra, but we have Max, we have Pro, we have General M3, and Apple was comparing it like a lot, trying to compare with M1. Mostly because like the iterative changes are not that big, but compared to M1, it's actually like quite a big step. And I mean, like it's a 2-year, and we are usually not replacing our MacBooks every year yet, and that's a good thing. So if you have M1 something, it like the M3 will be looking much better, like in many ways.
I'm speaking from my MacBook Pro with M1 Pro, not Max, and it's wonderful. I don't know why I should replace it.
I would agree. I mean, I also still use the M1 Pro chip on MacBook with M1 Pro chip, and it runs perfectly. So I also don't see a reason to migrate to M3, but there are a couple of metrics which are actually quite good in terms of like compilation speed and everything. It becomes better. Let's put it. But the one thing I would like to mention that M3 is also it has like differentiation between Pro and Max. Like if we look into previous chips, like Pro and Max were like kind of the same in a way, and now Apple like forces
CPU.
Yeah, just the CPU part. But now Apple is like forcing M3 Pro as more power efficient version of the chip and M3 Max as more performant, because the configuration of the efficiency and performance scores on M3 Pro is like totally geared towards the efficiency. So you will probably be able to have a lot more battery life with M3 Pro chip, but you will have like unprecedented amount of performance with M3 Max. So they are separating these chips significantly in the way how they work. So like cynics would say that it's all about money, and maybe they are right, but I'm also thinking that this is just actually these chips do serve separate purposes now, and like you should choose what do you want. Like, do you want to work connected to power and have like all the performance you can have, like I don't know, you're training some machine learning models, or you're a developer and you are sometimes on the go and you want to have your MacBook to live the whole day without charge, even if you're building something in Xcode or I don't know, doing something for something else. So maybe that's the case as well.
I still think about buying Mac Mini, but since they do not support Max version, Max like M chip Max there, and buying Studio is ugly first, and second one, I don't need such a big thing on my desk because minis.
Well, it's just two Mac Minis.
Just if I want to have a server rack, I would buy a server rack.
And by the way, like one of those Mac Minis in Ultra is just a fan.
Yeah. Not Mac Mini, but Mac Studio, yeah.
I mean, like if you stack them, two Mac Minis together, one of those will be fan and the second one will be the computer. And that's essentially Mac Studio is. And I would agree. It's, do you really need that kind of performance?
No.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
because again, I use M1 Pro. M1 Pro is wonderful for me. Yeah, I understand that maybe sometime I will need this, but I don't know. 2 minutes of compilation, maybe this it doesn't worth this huge amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
By the way,
and speaking of AI. We have to talk about that a little bit, because like Apple did not bring new Siri yet, did not bring much of the ML like generative AI tools to the platforms. But what they did, they actually just in the beginning of the year, they restricted the all AI apps age rating to like the top of their head, like at 17 years and up. Probably a good thing to do, especially having all the things which these models create and talk, and like how they respond to some of the queries. And we had one small large language model in our iPhones with iOS 17, like this new text prediction or completion, whatever you call that. It actually works interestingly okay on the English language. I can't speak for others. I think it doesn't work that good on other languages, but it's an interesting thing. And there were a couple of articles from Apple talking about the AI and like how to run large language models on the constrained devices. So they have like a couple of approaches with the how to properly structure the request, how to reuse the previous work created by the model in order to run the model on the devices with constrained memory, such as an iPhone. And that's well, maybe that means that they are still on track to deliver something in iOS 18 in terms of like Siri working on your phone, and maybe not on their cloud, but rather something might be still working locally as well. We'll see. And that's probably long overdue to have some updates to Siri, and maybe there will be more on like duolingual Siri, like support multiple languages at the same time, which is like, or maybe it will be like we'll be able to get more than one comment from like one request, like what you cannot do right now. Like you cannot actually ask it to do something and something else. You need to like do follow-up requests, which is kind of weird, and we'll see. I really hope to have something like that.
Just before Christmas, they released an open source multimodal large language model together with Columbia University. And this is interesting. So if they're gonna use this somehow in their work, in their devices, that would be interesting.
The rumors are rumors. Is that Apple is actually already testing some kind of Apple GPT internally with the employees, and it runs not locally. It's like just a server-based model, but they are tuning, they are testing, and they are think maybe. We know that Apple has a lot of like secretly working groups, and maybe they are working on something running locally. And I hope, we shouldn't expect that they will provide you an API as a developers to use that. I probably expect that this will be like just Siri only using that. But the fact that they will be able to run something locally means that your app might also do that. Like it might be a little bit different model, but it will the device will be capable of doing that. So
AI kit.
Yeah, well, we have ML, we have Core ML, but we'll see how it will. I mean, my best bet is that we will see something in that area next WWDC. I mean, it's otherwise Apple will be like really behind in terms of how are they perceived by the audience. So I think they definitely need to show something, and that something should be working good.
But it's similar. I don't know. As for me, it's similar to such stuff as we had with hardware updates, or for example, on Android phones, 120 kilohertz hertz screens, in-screen touch sensors, etc., etc. So the good thing that Apple spends a lot of time on polishing something, except SwiftUI, of course. And then they release this. I hope that they do the same with this, because if they just throw in a new LLM that will work the same as other, how many people really use LLMs from Google or from Amazon? Okay, Amazon, maybe users of AWS can do this. But talking about Google Bard and Gemini, I don't know. OpenAI is just, I don't know.
They are dominating it right now. Yes.
Yep. They are really big.
We need to see what they will actually be doing there. So we kind of might expect that there will be some more AI working on your photos. So like expect that, some kind of and I actually think that Apple already does like a lot of work there, but there might be I think the main thing for them is like, for the photos, I would still want this model to be local. I don't want these photos to be processed on some kind of server-side infrastructure. I mean, even if it's like very secure and so on, I still would like to have my photos processed locally. And for the AI, I mean, if Siri, okay, I think I didn't trigger it. If that thing will be working better with general like understanding of what I'm talking, and will be able to follow up, and it will be able to keep context of the discussion, that would be just perfect. And I mean, I'm more or less enjoy the capabilities of Siri right now. Again, I'm talking this name, and by the way, it didn't trigger. That's good. I'm more or less impressed with that, by the way. And they removed the need to say the word "hey" before that name. So now, and I enabled that, and that works sometimes in unusual ways. So again, I really want to see this AI assistant to be improved as a user, and hopefully we will get something as a developers as well. Maybe not next year, but in some distant future. I would like to see that coming from Apple as a native solution, or maybe this AI kit or Core ML extension with some kind of additional APIs. And by the way, there is a Hugging Face portal. They now have like also tools in Swift, like Swift frameworks for running LLMs locally as well. So there is a push there. Like there are companies working on that. There are a lot of stuff happening there. It's not just, there is no like this first party solution about that.
Yeah, so first party solution would be nice, but the most interesting thing, again, having this locally, especially like if they release this for always connected to power devices such as HomePods, Apple TV, that can be something really cool because they have enough like computation power. They have not enough, but at least some computational power. They don't need to worry about efficiency. Let's do this.
Okay, so since this year was like LLMs and generative AI happening outside of Apple, let's just try to cover some more topics. I would like to quickly go through one thing. So Apple Pay and like related frameworks get a significant expansion this year. So Apple Pay launched in South Korea, in let me see, it launched in Vietnam, Chile. Tap to Pay frameworks launched in a couple of countries, including like France, Ukraine, Brazil, UK, and also there are a couple of things happening there. So the Apple launched their Apple Pay Later, which is well, there are a lot of similar services in US, like providing you a way of paying in like 4 installments for something. And interestingly, the Apple Pay Later is launching without any partnership with some bank. So they are using their own money and they are using their own financial organization to finance this thing. And like knowing the rumors that Apple,
for dropping partnership with Goldman Sachs.
So one of the things which they like, well, I mean, nobody expects that Apple will handle the Apple Card as like with their own company, because it's a tough thing to do, I think. But they probably having that amount of cash somewhere, they might do that. Well, but as of now, it seems that it might be like either Chase Bank or maybe Capital One or something. So it probably won't be American Express, which was supposed to be initially, but who knows?
Why do you think that they cannot deal with that? If like their normal way of doing this, just buy some company and implement this, because there are a lot of neobanks around the globe. Revolut is.
The problem is that banks in US is that's something very I do not have enough proper word to describe that. So they are really reluctant to any change, and like I still believe that like exchange in like when the transactions between banks are happening with like I don't know, DAOs being like with the birds sending the papers between them or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of terrible things happening with the banks.
Called it Swift.
Yeah. So you might see some like nice things, like there is a Zelle, which is like payments through your phone number, which is like supported by many banks. But internally, it's still happening with like really old transactions. I think it's still sent over the email or something like that. So it's really the banks here, they work on really like, I don't know, like ancient level, and some of them have nicer interfaces. Like Apple Card, it's like really looks nice, and when you pay for your balance there, like, oh, like payment is accepted, like it's applied there. But internally, the payment is still happening. It will be happening for the next 2 days probably. Like it's so I'm not sure if they want to go into that by themselves. They probably can, having enough money, but I don't know. And there are a lot of things happening with the fraud prevention, with the responsibilities, and so on. So it's I still think they might find some partner for that. Maybe it will be some other bank, or maybe it will be some new bank created, maybe jointly with Apple. I don't know.
They can help California to become an independent state.
Don't start this. I mean, there are a lot of talks about that happening here, and it's. By the way, if California will be a separate state, I think it will be still like one of the greatest economies out there. So
one of 6, yeah.
So it's, but we shouldn't be talking that much.
Quietly. FBI, please don't listen to us.
Yeah, and the elections will be happening next year, and it's another topic which we won't be discussing here. It's
not only in your country.
Not for this podcast, right? Okay, let's cover maybe some more news. I'm currently looking at what we. I mean, we didn't talk about a lot of stuff, like for example, Apple Watch sales ban happening right now, being lifted back.
Yeah.
It's not yet dismissed. It's lifted for some time until the appeals court will be checking that. But well, I mean, for those who are not in US, one company, Massimo, they sued Apple for using oxygen sensor, and they like essentially were able to win the court, and like essentially the ban started on December 25th, and Apple appealed that decision. They hoped that president will veto this. President did not. So now they're appealing in federal appeals court. And currently the ban is lifted until the court will see the case, like hear the case and decide on the case itself. So that will happen somewhere in January.
One big note.
Yeah.
It happens only in the US.
Yes,
exactly.
So
okay.
All other countries still have these Apple Watches on sale. And I don't know. And I think they will need to settle it. Yeah, they will need to settle the dispute. So Apple, by the way, sued Massimo for other patents, and but Massimo does not probably have anything to sell. Therefore, there is no sales ban, and they are like too small for that. But okay, it's just a thing which is not that complicated. One thing I want to highlight, so that will actually be related to the developers. So the developers will now have to provide the information on the new aspects of privacy, like use of specific APIs in your apps, which can be used to track your specific device. So these APIs could be used to like fingerprint your device. And also all the frameworks which you use, third-party frameworks, will now need to be signed and also have these privacy manifests embedded. So Apple is actually like, when they introduced these privacy labels in App Store previously, they were saying this, like, you need to use your like understanding of things, and they were not checking the correctness of that essentially. So it was your responsibility. Now they are starting to check some of the things. So like if some apps is using fingerprinting techniques to like, instead of getting your device identifier, it tries to build one. Now you will not be able to use that unless you declare that in those manifests. I mean, pretty much sure most of the advertisers will still do some tricky stuff with that, but I think Apple is trying to close more loops there, like loopholes there, so they will be able to like at least tell the customers that they are working on that. I mean, I'm not sure if that will actually work, but As a developer, starting in spring next year, you will have to provide those manifests, like otherwise your app will not be submitted to the App Store. And that's another topic I wanted to talk. Maybe that will be the last one for today. We'll see. European Union, Digital Millennium Act, gatekeepers. So Apple is found as the gatekeeper in terms of App Store, and that not like it doesn't really like we do not have exact understanding what that means. So Apple will probably have to allow something on their phones. Some people say it will be separate app stores. I would rather say they will allow side loading, which is like they will allow you to install the applications. And that doesn't mean they will allow like app stores there. And my take here, if they allow that, they will limit these apps access to some specific things. For example, MapKit, when you use it on the iPhone, you use it for free and you're not paying anything. If you use, for example, Google Maps, there is some limits where you have to pay for those maps to be working. You don't have to do that on Apple Maps. Or some other tools, like they might restrict you from getting access to these tools. Like, I don't know, they might say like if you sideload an app, if you install app from untrusted source, you cannot use Keychain, or you cannot use Apple Pay, or you cannot use
push notifications
or whatever. Like you can be limited in many ways, and like for the privacy and security reasons, for obviously.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But or NFC or something else. Like by the way, the NFC is one more thing some banks are now trying to get access to, and essentially trying to like limit Apple's dominance in terms of Apple Pay, and like have some their own solutions for that. And again, I'm not we might want to talk about how Apple Pay is better in terms of like actually like stripping banks from getting that access. And the Apple, I think their commission is quite low. I mean, in terms of getting that.
Yeah, but just a couple of millions.
Well, of course they earn a lot of money, but for you it's really small one. And there are a couple of like companies in US who are not supporting Apple Pay, specifically Walmart, and that's like I think they will like they had their own currency, like they had a couple of attempts to make their own competition for Apple Pay. They failed, and I think they essentially will support Apple Pay soon, because the couple of companies which are related to Walmart are already using Apple Pay right now. But speaking of European Union, so this they forced Apple to use USB-C on the iPhones, like notably iPhone 15 now comes with USB-C.
That was an evolution of iPhone. Apple thought about this for years.
Yeah, I'm still thinking that's a bad thing to have, because like USB-C is USB 3, I think. It's also Thunderbolt and all other standards, and like by the way, USB power delivery, and the cable you have, you don't know like will it work with any of those features. So the only thing you can trust on that cable is it will work as USB 2.0. So that's why I mean like the port is, yeah, it's nice, but the whole thing with cables is just terrible. And I'm not saying that Lightning was better, because it was still USB 2, but you know that it's USB 2 and that's it. So
but yeah, in this case, so if it's just a plain USB-C cable with the power delivery and with some
exactly.
plain
with
data
power
stuff.
Delivery. Yeah, because not all of them support that. You again can be like limited to 5 watts or something like that. And when you buy cables on Amazon, it's still like one cable costs like $100 and another one costs $5, and they're all USB-C cables, like, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah. But
okay. We'll see. So nothing happened in terms of the regulations. So there are still, I think, some communications between Apple and the European Union, and they are trying to come up with something, but Apple is trying to push that away, saying that they are not actually a gatekeeper and so on. And I think they are more or less successful in terms of iMessage. They are saying like it's like not totally non-dominant thing. And there were a couple of things happening with iMessage in regards to the beeper, the Android tool, which was trying to hack into iMessage and saying
and running it somewhere else.
yeah. So what they were saying is like, we are making communications for iPhone users more safe by providing this tool to Android users, like, which is essentially hacking the protocol and like getting the registration data. And like their last attempt, so Apple closed some of the loopholes this company was using, and their last attempt is to have a jailbroken iPhone, install specific app on them, register for the iMessage, download the payload which was generated then, and then like, well, I don't see that being secure. Let's put it that way. And like, I mean, well, and I think they will end up not supporting iMessage. And there were a couple of senators in US who are now starting investigations. Like, is it an anti-competitive behavior from Apple, like protecting their own protocol? But yeah, we know the elections next year, so somebody needs to make their points.
Yeah, but I know that in the US, iMessage is a big thing, especially
Really big,
among youngsters. But in EU, people just don't think about it. So we have it, good. We don't have it, WhatsApp and other stuff. Facebook, Messenger.
I would say Google won one round here, so Apple will be supporting Rich Communication Services, RCS, but they will not be supporting Google's encryption. So they will be supporting like industry standard encryption for the RCS, like end-to-end encryption. I mean, that will happen next year too. So and interestingly, Apple will still be showing these bubbles as green, like.
Of course.
Well, obviously, but yeah, some people hope that it might be like something else, but no, there will be still. And in US, this like blue bubbles versus green bubbles is like huge meme. So like a lot of people are like trying to talk about that. I wouldn't go through all other news which happened, like the China ban on the iPhone or game porting toolkit, which was also released and like had some news there, but like essentially we now can run some of the games from Windows on Macs, and or Open API generator, which also was released by Swift team today. So there are a lot of things happened this year, but I wouldn't say that it was like really big year in terms of actual things which we got. Like we didn't get the Apple Vision Pro yet. That was announced and we are hoping to get it. So there are much hopes in 2024 in terms of getting new generative AI on the Apple platforms, getting like the Vision Pro finally, actually. And I think...
and hope that Apple will be able to sell their Apple Watches in the US.
Yes, again, and by the way, the rumors are that the next like Apple Watch 10 will have new form factor, and maybe it will not be supporting previous watch bands, which is actually quite bad, because even this Ultra supports the Apple Watch bands which were created previously. That's actually maybe one of the like small of the success factors, because you can like have a lot of them and then you can switch. You can use the previous watch bands of yours. With
Yeah,
the new
because
models.
watch bands, they're not like cases for your phone. Yeah, cases for your phone. First of all, they can be expensive, but you want to change them somehow. But this is just utility stuff. Yeah. But with bands for watches, this is really
it's a fashion thing. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, by the way, last thing I would probably to close up with the uplifting note. So if you're not using Xcode Cloud now, you probably want to have, since starting next year, I think, every membership, Apple Developer Program membership, will provide you with 25 hours of Xcode Cloud for free. So like if you're paying your yearly fee, then you have this thing, and consider having some CI/CD on your projects, especially if you're doing something like on your own and you're like doing something for like as an indie developer for Apple platforms, well, I mean, having free CI/CD tool provided by Apple, why not? I mean, and 25 hours, I think that might be okay per month, by the way. Yeah, not per year. It's actually quite generous. I think it might be okay for indie developers.
It looks like they have a lot of free Mac Minis in the office.
Yeah, maybe they want to spread the adoption and hope that people will run out of these 25 hours and they will subscribe to more paid hours.
Actually, what they need to do, they need to focus on enterprise and forcing them to go into these and providing them a lot of customability for this.
By the way, we have a comment from Vadim, who is also already using Xcode Cloud over Bitrise. Good choice. So as regards to enterprise, yes, but as soon as you start bringing enterprise, it's not 25 hours, it's like 25,000 hours, which you will need, and therefore...
Yeah, of course, but enterprise are ready to pay for that.
The problem, I think, for the enterprises, and like speaking from our perspective, the main problem there is that we are not using just the Apple platforms. So, and most of the projects want to have everything happening in one tool, and therefore having Xcode Cloud to support your iOS builds or like Mac builds or Vision Pro builds, that's good. But like there, what to do with other platforms? So I think that's maybe the only reason why they will be sticking with Bitrise, Jenkins, or whatever.
Apple knows how to make stuff open, not open source, but open standard. They can partner with the Jenkins community to make something on that.
Well, I think they might. I mean, they are not shy about sometimes supporting Android, right? They have Apple Music for Android, or they even now have some collaboration with Google in regards to unwanted tracking notifications, and that's joint efforts of companies. So they might have that, but I still don't think they really interested in that. Only if they actually want to have mass adoption of Xcode Cloud. So I don't know. We'll see. I think that would be it with the review. I mean, we skipped a lot of things here and there, but I think that was more or less okay for this episode. And we didn't have any predictions for the next year. Well, we had a couple of hopes there, but let's don't do that. I mean, all the predictions... that's something I don't want to do this year.
Not in this world.
Let this year finally end, and maybe new year will be a little bit better. I don't even have hopes for that as well. So it will be still a stretch goal, I think, right now. But so for all who are listening to us, like Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa, like Hanukkah, whatever you are celebrating, like have a great holidays there, Happy New Year, and we'll see you hopefully in January, but like really hopefully in January we will get back. I mean, we still want to get back, and
it sounds like next 2024 year. Problem.
Yeah. Okay, that was a nice season. Yeah. See you next year, and yeah, maybe let's just like hope that we will have more than 6 episodes next year. I really want that to happen with some new things.
Depends on our performance.
That's true. It's only our thing.
Okay. Then...
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.